Here's where you're gonna learn what it takes to be a real mafioso.
Welcome to Deus Ex, a futuristic cyberpunk-esque game that loves the color orange. You play as Adam Jensen, American Heartbreak and Technomancer Crybaby. Your mission is to save your wife. Nothing else matters. Although you meet and interact with plenty of characters throughout this campaign, only a half dozen actually matter at all. Adam Jensen, aforementioned robo-hypocrite and sunglasses enthusiast. David Serif, pseudo-father figure and Tony Stark wannabe. Megan Reed, wife and objective marker. Eliza Kassan, professional television screen. Hugh Darrow, techno-incel and British inventor. And William Taggart, penis inspector and starving orphan advocate. As someone who hasn't played the original Deus Ex yet, I'm sorry Kino Fabino, this game does well enough as its own standalone into the world of Sadham Jetson and his robot trivialities. In short, the facility you and your wife work at was attacked, leaving you a cyborg and your wife a kidnappee. With your only reason of living gone, it's now your quest to do Daddy Serif's bidding and get to the bottom of the attacks at Serif Industries, for the sake of the company, for the lives who were lost in the destruction, and for your wife's delicious ginger snaps. Along the way, you can complete a variety of side quests, which are fun but ultimately contribute very little to the outcome of the main plotline. Deus Ex is one of those games that offers you the options of either going loud and proud or sneaky and stealthy. When offered stealth, I generally take it. However, there were definitely instances where impatience overtook me, or I just recognized that shooting everyone like a maniac was a much more efficient and effective strategy. Either way, it seems as though the game will cater to your preferences. However, there are definitely some stealth-oriented missions and some combat-oriented ones. Levels in this game are generally pretty fun, playing out sort of like a Metroid game but in reverse. You run through a corridor of rooms and get to an objective. Then, oh no, guards are roaming the area, better stealth and or kill every living creature within the vicinity. This is unexpected the first couple of times it happens, however you'll quickly begin recognizing rooms as such and the illusion quickly disappears. That being said, there's one level towards the very end of the game that pulls this trick again. However, even though you're expecting it, it's still pretty well executed. It was probably my favorite level in the game. Unfortunately, all the boss fights in this game are stupid and silly. Every single one of them can be boiled down to pulling out your strongest weapon and fucking melting their health bar. Hell, even that final boss is a cheese that's so mind-numbingly stupid it felt like strands of neurons were leaking out of my ears upon beating it. It seems kind of common for stealth games to not have great boss fights, but I don't know, this doesn't feel like an excuse. Much like Half-Life 2, Deus Ex has a great sense of room. Each area has a strange sense of reality to it, which makes exploration a lot of fun. Speaking of which, exploration generally flows between an open world areas and dungeons filled with enemies. The quote-unquote open world aspect of Deus Ex is like a sandcastle, whereas most other fully open world games are like an entire beach. This isn't necessarily a bad thing though, as it's not hard to stumble into a side quest or someone's bedroom. Also, as a result of this, the gameplay didn't feel like a hallway simulator, but like a double helix simulator, roaming in between public places with civilians and private sectors with enemies. Inventory management is Resident Evil style, which is a lot of fun to dick around with, although I usually just let the game sort my shit out for me. If you're a kleptomaniac like I am, you're going to want to upgrade your stomach backpack as soon as possible for maximum weapon consumption. Speaking of upgrades, did I mention you can upgrade your abilities in this game? Despite Adam constantly bickering about not wanting to set off every metal detector in America, he's still pretty keen on min-maxing his stats for maximum penis size and minimum UV damage. Most of these upgrades aren't anything too crazy, and some of them felt like they didn't work as intended, like the silent running perk and so on. I most enjoyed using the Featherfall perk and the double knockout perk. Most of the other perks were either too combat oriented or simply stat stick improvements that aren't really worth talking about. The dialogue in this game is actually aged relatively well, which makes the interrogation/persuasion portions of it a lot of fun. I sucked ass at these parts, unfortunately. However, I still enjoyed dissecting the arguments of my opponents, even if it meant reloading saves over and over. Speaking of which, this game reminded me of how debilitating my save-scumming approach is to single-player games. I swear, after every enemy I killed or every door I hacked open, I had to save. It was somehow worse than when I played Skyrim. I literally ended up using all 99 save files, and I had to start looping the same 10 or so per area. This was not the fault of the game, but of my own hubris. Anyways, there's hacking in this game. Unfortunately, it's stupid. All you do is click shit until you win. If you're losing, you can cheat by using a nuke or worm node to bypass the enemy system. Fortifying my own nodes felt completely useless, as if you're fast enough, nothing else matters. I've yet to find a game whose hacking is better than Sly Cooper 3's, and I have a feeling it will stay that way for a long time. In summation, Deus Ex was an incredibly long but satisfying single-player experience. The story was captivating enough to keep me going, and the gameplay was unique enough that I didn't tire after about 25 hours. Were to have more time on this bitch of an earth, I could see myself trying to 100% this game. However, I think I'd prefer to move on to one of the other hundreds of untouched games in my Steam library. That being said, I look forward to visiting Deus Ex's previous game, as well as its sequel. Should you play Deus Ex: Human Revolution?
Sure.